On today's try to finish something, yeah, I obviously haven't had any new job interviews lately. This look, I don't think I'm getting hired right away. So I did mention in the teaser in the last video that I did go over to Odin's. I got a really cool Army surplus case. I'm not exactly sure what it was used for, if it was some sort of an ammo container, which is what it said on the sign at the Army surplus store, but it could also be some sort of a thermal cooler because it was lined with some foam. The bottom half of it was ripped out, and when I saw it, I immediately thought this would make a cool thermal detonator case. If you put 4 or 6 or some sort of thermal detonators in it, it would be a great way to carry them as you're heading off to battle. I was at Galaxy's Edge, and in the Rise of the Resistance line, they have that ammo depot room, and they've got all kinds of things, including cases of thermal detonators. And that's what I want to make this into. But when I saw that foam layout, I immediately thought of Odin, because he does things in foam. And I asked him, hey Odin, you want to make a liner for this case? And he was getting ready to head off to a con and needed a quick build and said, yeah, I'd love to. And it's great working with Odin because he loves doing the foam fabrication. I love painting, so it works for both of us. So I need to make the detonators to go in the case. If you haven't watched Odin's video yet, he did an amazing job. He way overbuilt what I thought he was going to do. I thought he was just making a foam insert. He did this super complicated lighting system, and it's awesome. You got to check out his video. And I've got these thermal detonators that were resin printed by Clever 3D Studio, and they are so lovely. And I'm going to make those look like they fit into my eventual room build, which is a ammo depot that has been sitting. The rebels left it, abandoned it, the new Imperial troops took it over, and these thermal detonators are old remnants, so I want them to look old and grimy and definitely not shiny and new. Building those thermal detonators that go inside that case and finishing the weathering of that case, well, that's what I'm going to do on today's Try to Finish Something. So like I said, at the end of my Hasbro Boba build, I headed out to this guy's place. It's Odin with my case in hand, and while Odin starts to make some templates, we realized that when we opened up the case, it made the whole case off balance. So we had the idea to use his Ryobi hot glue gun and hot glue a bolt that he had at the front end of the case. But the problem was the giant bolt was slightly too long, so I dropped it into his vise and I broke out the hacksaw. Everything was going smooth. Well, until the wiring. You see, Odin was going super high-tech with a Beconix LED system with a series of LEDs, and because he was having to fold some of the LED strips and redesign a few things, it just wasn't going to plan, and leads kept getting broken and things kept having to be resoldered. And if you've ever tried to solder on wire to those LED strips that have that rubber sheathing and it melts away and you're breathing in the toxic fumes and you realize that you have ruined the tabs that you're supposed to solder to on the LED strip, yeah, that is where Odin was. And I could tell the level of frustration of this project, and it was starting to get to him. But like Odin always does, he finally got it to work. Thank goodness, because I was a bit worried.
I was getting nervous when I saw you doing this. I was like, uh-oh, he's losing it.
No, which part, when I just holding the parts, holding pieces up? Oh, I was just like, light up, damn you, light up. Yeah, kind of. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this thing fully painted and whatever additional weathering that Shawn's going to do to it. That's going to appear very shortly over on his YouTube channel called Try to Finish Something. I know it feels like this is a two-part video. It is. But my role was always just to do the foam roll inside of the box and to add some greebles to the inside. And I wanted to overachieve, and add some LED effects. So I want to thank Baconics. I've got some great friends over at Baconics that are helping me out with getting me set up with learning their no-code system for lighting up LEDs. And yeah, I'm looking forward to using this some more. But I think for now, there's going to be lots of different ways that you can smuggle thermal grenades into a con. But this is how Odin makes.
So, of course, Odin being Odin, he knocked it out of the park and did a bunch of things that I never would have thought of. And I hope you've already checked out his video. But here we go, on to the thermal detonators. And I love what Odin has done to this. Now, it's time to hopefully do this case some justice. These resin prints by Clever 3D Studios need to be finished. I may want to try and color this foam a bit and weather the edges of this case, but this case really looks great as it is. I will need to do something with the top of this to make it more, I don't know, in-universe, but I love this case. And look at these resin prints. They are so smooth. Clever 3D Studios is my go-to for prints, and they are an amazing small family business that take the utmost care in whatever they print for you. They are good people that really take the time and care to make sure that they deliver quality prints, and these being resin will just need a tiny bit of sanding. I could probably get away with not sanding at all, but you know me and my OCD when it comes to these kind of things. So what I'm trying to do is sand in a spiral motion, because if there are lines that are seen, I want them to look like some kind of a brushed aluminum. Now, I know the detonator that Carrie Fisher was holding in Jabba's palace was shiny and it was chrome, but I've seen some that look like the chrome was chipped away and worn off, and that is the look that I am going for in this build. This case and the detonators are going into my room build, as I mentioned before, in the weapons rack. And this is an old rebel bunker that has been abandoned and taken over by rogue Imperial forces in the time similar to The Mandalorian. I know, here I go again with my crazy stories, but as I've said before, you have to be okay with my reality. And I know I've said that before, and I agree with Lopaka76, who had commented when I said that on my Power Droid build. He said, you should make that into a t-shirt. And he might be right. You have to be okay with my reality. I like that. On my phone now, this is the detonator that I'm looking at for inspiration. It has about, 3 or 4 layers of color and looks like maybe a silver, a pewter, a chrome gray, and a whole lot of weathering. And one of the grays looks like it might be tinted with a little bit of green. And the original one with Carrie Fisher definitely has some green on that chrome. I took all of the detonators outside and based them in black and then sprayed them with a Montana Gold Silver, just to give them a starting point. And as I have mentioned a couple different times, I am trying to learn and use my airbrush. And so what I'm doing is I'm starting with a dark aluminum, and then I'm randomly applying rubber cement with a paintbrush. When that rubs off, you'll see the spots that are dark aluminum. And now I am going through spraying Spaz Sticks Silver Chrome over the rubber cement. And I'm really having a hard time with the Spaz Sticks. I don't know if maybe I should be thinning it. It seems to be clogging in the needle, and just like Odin, I'm now getting frustrated. All right, another round of rubber cement, and now I'm going to mix some silver and some green and some black. And when I squeezed the black, it was clogged, and like those old ketchup commercials, it came out in a giant spray all over my hands. This is not helping at all with my frustration. I think I have more paint on my hands than I've actually put on the prop. Now the reward, the rubbing off of the rubber cement to reveal the layers. All right, I do like the layers. Now to add some grime and chip it down to the black base, and I will take that outside and give it a spray of clear. What a disaster. Let's hope the other 3 go a bit smoother now that I think I have my game plan, and we can kind of just speed through these. Here they are, all based in silver, and I'm going to apply the Spaz Sticks with an acid brush this time in a blotchy non-pattern everywhere, then onto the rubber cement. Now my mix of green, gray, and silver, and I like this mix.
and the rubber cement. Then just the base silver. And I know that silver and that greenish are only slightly different, but I hope the effect and the layers will make all of this worth it. Remember, these are aged and worn with time in my ammo bunker. Now, the unmasking. All right, it makes it worth it when you see that. I really like that. First layer of weathering, dirty brush water, and some brown and black acrylic wash. Now a bit of selective dabbing of brown and black water-based oils, which will give it more of a greasy look. And while that dries, I want to add some rust and scratches to the greeblies Odin has inside of the container. I'm painting on rust and scratches to the bezel Odin made and adding some dust to the inside of the case. And while I have the rust colors out, I want to add a few drips of rust to the outside of the case. All right, so on the top, I want to add on some of the Ado Morin from Fabworks stickers that I bought on the Van Oaks Props Etsy shop. The yellow warning with the 4 seems like a good fit for 4 thermal detonators. And I don't want this to be centered. I want it to look like it was just slapped on the top of this case. And I'm going to put this other warning sticker slightly overlapping so that none of this looks planned. And then I'm going to weather and scratch these up too. And add a little bit of dust. All right, so the black center rings and the switches need some weathering and some dust too. I want to find a way to make these switches actually work and operate the detonator. And I have an idea, but this is going to be super low tech. I have a case that Odin put in the latest technology, and it's awesome. And I'm going to really dumb it down, and I'm going to use aluminum foil. This is going to be so low tech. I'm going to put in 3 yellow LEDs and 1 red LED. I'm going to add a shelf of foam just below the holes on the inside of each detonator. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on the side of each of the LEDs, and I'm going to glue those onto the shelf so that the end of the bulb of the LED is facing the outside of the hole. Then I will add another shelf just above those LEDs, sandwiching the LEDs right up against the inside of the thermal detonator. I know, super high tech. And for the red one, I'm going to take a strip of foam and use a drill bit and just hand drill out a hole to place in the red LED. Then I will just add some super glue to the edges and glue this centered inside the back of the red lens. So here's a close-up of the way these switches work and how they stay in place. You've got the switch and you've got this rod and a cylinder, and the cylinder slips onto the end of the rod, and I'm going to wrap that cylinder in foil. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue foil around the cylinder and then add a small end that you would normally use to terminate a wire with a screw connector, and I'm going to bend the end of the connector up and JB weld that in place. And then when the foil-covered cylinder that has a negative wire attached to it contacts that screw terminal, it will complete the circuit and light up. Maybe. We'll have to try this out. Dear God, please let this work. This will be super embarrassing if it doesn't work. And I'm using blue wire nuts. They should be the gray ones, as those are smaller, but nah, I don't have any, and I'm just going to make this work. All right, I'm going to test this out. You may want to look away. If I fail here, there could be actual tears. I'm just going to shove all of this inside. And give the top a slide. And Holy crap. It worked. All right, it is still super low tech and embarrassingly simple compared to Odin's lights inside the case, but it works, and once I get this all glued together, no one but you guys will know what a mess these are on the inside. And you can keep a secret, right? All right, I'm going to hold this until the glue sets and place this one inside. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that is sexy.
Oh yeah, sexy thermal detonators, baby. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. 3 more done the exact same way. And I'm going to do one more pass of the Spastics with a brush for some shine, and I will add a little bit more weathering. I'm going to take brown and black oils mixed with a bit of baking soda to add a little bit of texture. I also want to add a bit of red onto one of the rings around the case to give it some pop. And I'm just using a chip brush in the middle because I want this as chipped as the black was that was originally there. I just sprayed some Montana Gold brick red onto a plate, and I'm also using a small brush to get close to the edges where it would be less worn and chipped. I am also going to dab just a little bit of red inside to have the detonators stand out a bit more. They seem to blend in too much to the black. And I'm going to tone that red down on the inside with a sponge with some gray paint on it, dabbing it, and then I will add some dust again. And now I have to weather the ring on the outside. I'm going to sand it down with some sandpaper and then add some watered down paints to give it a little bit of dirt and grime and dab that off. I think I'm going to change the color of this yellow triangle to tie in the red to the band and to the inside. Weather that and dry it. Now, I think all I have left is to add some scratches with an X-Acto knife and just random crap that I have lying around. And I think I am finally done. I am calling the 4-pack thermal detonator carrying case completed by Odin of Odin Makes and the thermal detonators masterfully printed by Clever 3D Studio and rigged in the most jerry-rigged way possible to complete my desired effect of worn, weathered thermal detonators sitting in the ammo case in what will eventually be my rebel base, forgotten by time and taken over by Imperial troopers build, finally finished. I really hope you enjoyed this build. I had a great time doing it, and if you like it, please subscribe and share it with a friend. And if you didn't, as always, just keep it to yourself. And we'll see you next time as we try to finish something.